All right. Okay, okay, okay.
Okay, now you're back.
Yes, the first disturbances. But anyway, it's working, so that's good.
Yes.
Let me see what the name. Okay. Ah, you started. You wanted to type it. Very good. Yeah, it's good. No worries.
The sound is not very good.
The sound is not very good. That's probably my machinery in that case.
There's some buzzing going on.
Ah, what to do? Let
But
me see.
I can hear you pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can try to take off this thing and speak via the computer, but then you become very soft spoken to me, so I have to put my head in the computer.
No, let's just go ahead. We'll deal with that later.
We deal with that later. No worries. I have to get another machine already since 1 year, but no time.
Yeah.
Everything is mad
Yeah.
at the moment, so no worries. Eh, I've just been eating, so I make my cup of tea and taking it easy for 5 seconds and smoke my ciggy and hope that I get my brain together to explain for you this. Anyway, you know what it looks like. I've one small one hanging here on the wall, so I can also look over and see the details and know what it's about.
Okay. I have
So,
it in front of me as well.
all right, very good. Where do you come from originally?
I grew up in the Midwest in Ohio.
In Ohio, all right. And before that, hundreds of years ago, they came from Scandinavia or from where? Your
My
family?
my father's family came from Copenhagen.
Ah, from Denmark. That's nice.
Yes.
Yeah,
And my mother's side is English and German.
all right. Ah, yeah. Okay. We are all from everywhere. I
Yeah.
got also that explanation halfway through my life, when my mother told me that your papa is not your papa. I said, oh, who is it then? I already looked in the mirror and find out that I have three sisters who are completely white, like the ceiling, and from somewhere. But they had a good story for me. They said the man my mother married in order to legalize herself and me 1.5 months before I was born. He is from a Huguenot family from France who came
Oh.
who came to Holland 300 years ago. So the darker outlook when I was young could be kind of excused by the family name. But then, yeah, when my mother told me that my papa is from Iran, I think from Tehran, and she was of course a little bit curious in the time that I packed my suitcase and went to travel. So I have been in the 70s 6, 7 times in Iran, driving all around there, without to know that my puppy originally came from there. But he wouldn't be there because I think he escaped already in '53 from Iran in the what was it in the Mossadegh. He was president, democratically chosen in that time in Iran, and I think the Americans they kicked him out, and put the Shah back in power. This kind of stuff.
Do you speak Iranian?
No, yeah, a couple of words. I can do my shopping and order a cup of tea and eat a piece of bread, but that's it. This
Yeah.
kind of. You don't need to because basically everywhere people understood what you wanted or they spoke English. So then you are, because you are only spending a couple of months in all the time in this country. So, but Farsi is kind of difficult. So you must really want to spend time there in order to learn the language. But doesn't matter. Anyway, Hemingway, Ernest Hemingway. let's get into the painting. So, of course, the main figure is Ukko, or uh, Malgubet Balder, as he is called in the root language. Yeah, so it's in two languages in this mythology, which originates from and he is playing kantele, and kantele is this music instrument from heathen time, this kind of string instrument, and kantele consists of three sounds, of kan, tel, and a. Now kan is like in English can, tel is like you can tell, and a is oak tree. So he can talk. He talks about a. Kantele is actually the meaning that he talk about a, which is the sperm tree, and that's the oak tree from which all people are born. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's very symbolic that he is sitting there, and he is sitting on the hell, and hell is a rock formation, and hell means like a flat piece of rock of a mountain,
Yeah.
on which he sits, and that particular, sorry,
Pasi.
Pasi, yeah, a Pasi kiwi, also the name of one of the president of Finland after the independence from Russia, 1917. So Paasikivi, he was one of the, probably a translated name from a root character, because the root people were mainly the bureaucracy in Uudenmaan that was root speaking up to 1930s, when there started to come the influx of Finnish people, in Finnish speaking people into Uudenmaan. So by now the root speaking people are a minority, and before, if you had a job for the government in Finland, like you were station master in Kajaani or something, you had to be able to speak root, and usually come from a root family. So these root people, they are like dispersed all over Finland in the past because of bureaucratic functions what they held. Yeah. So this you find in many countries. It's like if you are in, for example, Yugoslavia, was consisting of all these different small states that we have today there, Slovenia and Croatia and Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia and Montenegro and so Macedonia. So you always had to speak Serbian if you were a member of the bureaucracy, or you had a job, you held a job in the bureaucracy. So then you had to be Serbian. So a little bit same like this root in Finland. So this is something from the past. And now the history book have been making confusion by talking about democratic and blah blah blah, and this kind of fantastic story. But there is not so much democracy in the nature. It's just how the nature is as it is, and if you are a lame duck, the nature is not very democratic in relation to you, which doesn't mean that we shouldn't take care of people who have problems. But anyway, it's like the basic thing is very different, and we aspire to democracy, but then again, we are a long way from that, from the ideal of democracy. We are in some kind of intermediate story, and we seem to run into enormous problems with our democratic way of thinking, because it ends up with 50-50. So you end up with nothing. Anyway, humor apart. So this hell, what he sits on, is one clip hell, because you have a berry hell, which is on the continent or the Vestland, on the on the mainland. When you have there a mountain with a flat piece, we call it a berry hell.
Very hell.
Like we have one area in Helsinki, which today they call Berry Hell, because it has this flat piece on that mountain. But before that particular mountain, which today is called Berry Hell, was before called Hell Buried. And Hell Buried is one of the main places in the mythology and one of the main center. Um, it's right behind Esbu Buried. So in Esbu Buried is the main temple, the Sun Temple, and behind that is Hell Buried, which had also a temple in Eden time. Now, on the mainland it is one Berry Hell, and if it's on the island, it's called one Clip Hell.
Okay.
So where Ukko is sitting is one Clip Hell, which is outside of Helsingnes. So the hell gets its name from this cliff, from this rock,
Okay.
from this mountain, which is called in the mythology Lusnarbergen in Finnish, and it's called Kuunteluvuori in Ruud, and Kuunteluvuori in Finnish. So Lusnar is listening, listening mountain,
Yeah.
and in Finnish it's Kuunteluvuori, which is also listening mountain in Finnish language.
So they are both, you could call them Klipel. Klipel. They are Klipel.
I don't get it.
Okay, never mind, continue.
All right. So he is actually sitting on the hell, on that place from where hell gets its name. It's from this rock where before Einstein he was sitting and running his information system. Maybe you have heard the story of this open parliament kind of thing.
Yeah.
On Odense Earth. Yeah, there is a big story with that. So anyway, now we have localized him sitting on the island, playing his kantele, which is symbolic for the whole story that he can tell, which is like Bock Saga from the Paradise Night and their organization. And on his side, on the right hand side, the lady with the green touch in her headdress. So she is like the middle character in the painting. There is one girl on the left lying in the water, and then there is the Akka or the Gumma, and she is looking up to her man with whom she has been making all kinds of children. And the first child she has been making is the guy who is sitting in the pond on the right hand side.
Okay.
Yeah, and he has this kind of lagerkrans on his head, some kind of greenery what he has on his head,
Uh-huh.
and above him there is his older sister Maya. She is also with green in there.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, or with the rest. So they are Eers and Mai, or Seppo and Maya in Baan language. And right next to Ukko is sitting Lemminkainen, or Solbokkenbalder, and Solvogel Zwaan. So the blonde lady is the Zwaan, with whom he is making, again, 12 son and 7 daughter minimum. Next to Lemminkainen, he has his cone-formed head.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he has this hat on, which is also cone-formed, just like the storehouse under the ground under the middle point, under Valhalla. Yeah, so it's symbolic also for this storehouse that is there under the earth, where they have been keeping all the handicraft from the paradise time. They look today a little bit more like in the Russian dress, but also Finnish dress, which is quite similar in many ways if you go back to Hedendom. Next to Lemminkainen, there is one guy sitting there with one snake in his hand. And he is symbolizing Tur, which is the heart frame, if we keep it simple. Yeah, I don't want to go in the 3-hour explanation now, so because then you have to start to tell a whole story about Tur and blah blah blah. But anyway, above is the tree, and I don't really know what kind of tree it is. I have the feeling it symbolizes the ash tree, and in the background you have pine tree or Christmas tree, whatever you want to call it. In that one tree there is sitting one bird. No, sorry, there is one bird, and I don't know that one, but there is also sitting one bird on this kantele, on this music instrument.
Mm-hmm.
And that bird is one with a red breast, which in Finnish is called, how was it called in the root? Let me think 1 second. Um, my brain. Anyway, it doesn't matter. In Finnish it's called punatulku. Punatulku, and it's one association to the red helmet of Ukko on his breeding equipment. So the punamulku is sometimes one word they use to joke with punatulku, because by changing one sound, it in a jokey way relates straight away to this body part that they today wear in the trousers. So it's a bit of it's one, how do you call this now? Root. I don't have it. Something red something with the breast is red and blue and white in this bird. So it holds these colors of like the Pantheon in Finland also, this bird. In the water there is 3 girls with flowery hair, and the light is on the girl most on the right, who is looking up to Ukko, kind of. She is, the light is like on Ukko, is also accentuated on her. And under her left arm she holds the sword. So very obviously, in the election system of this most healthy and most beautiful from before in their children making system, they choose in the paradise time from whole planet 24, and 24 become 12, and 12 become 7, and 7 become 3. And now Lemminkainen has to choose by feeling one of these 3 girls. Yeah, it's pure by feeling. Yeah, because of course they are all beautiful. So yeah, but he has to choose one, and that one becomes the swan. So in this picture you see the future swan that will be chosen by Lemminkainen when this Lemminkainen that is sitting there together with the swan, with no sorry, with Joodsen, the future Lemminkainen will make again the family with this girl that is there sitting in the water. Now the water is always symbolic for the live water also. Yeah. So you can see on the sea there under the moon, you see one, how do you call it, one raft. And on that raft there is one papa and one mama with two children. So that is symbolic for the future family. Yeah, that is coming to start the whole thing. And above the moon there is the sun in this rainbow form, where there are these three angel type of character, which is um, symbolic for the soul of the Fulgia. When you die and you become burnt, the ash is put to the root of the tree, and then it goes via the root to the stem, to the branch, to the twigs, to the leaf, and then the sun shining on the leaf is releasing the mahla or the saf, where now this energy from this fugia is inside and become released in the atmosphere, and then the centrifugal force of the earth turning before Einstein is bringing then all this fugia back to Valhalla. So everybody go to Valhalla. we all fly, we all fly up there once we become burned, and the ash is put to the root of the tree, so that it can escape via the leaf, because the Fulgia or the soul is indestructible. So it's the same quality as Uden by itself, which is the sun, is also indestructible. The sun is forever. Yeah. So of course they like it to die after 5 billion years, so that we have to escape here from the earth, because we will burn up by this sun when it. This is this kind of scientific explanation. This material world we live in. Before people could believe that the sun would finish. They couldn't understand that at all. But since we got science, we know that we completely left the spiritual part of the life, and we are only stuck into the materialistic world. And in the materialistic world, everything becomes and has to go. So it has a beginning and an end. But now, yeah, my son, it has no beginning and it has no end. It has always been and it will always be. And it's the same with this aspect of sun, yeah, because Uden has five aspects. The Uden is everything and the sun. So Uden is the sun, and Uden is the lightning, is also one aspect. The sun is one aspect of Uden, lightning is one aspect of Uden, fire is one aspect of Uden, the fire on the earth, and the sperm is one aspect of Uden, which is all, they are all forever, and the goat, because also the goat is the only material existing that when you make something out of it and nobody is rubbing it for 50 billion years, the same piece of gold will be standing there also after 100 billion years if you do your best. So it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away. It's why you just look at it, observe, and touch it, not with your bare head, because then slowly, slowly over time it will rub off and get patina, just like most metal artifacts from before. They all get a patina, which means it's slowly, slowly wearing. Yeah? But with gold, if you don't touch it, if you just look at it, or you treat it with your gloves, let's say like that, then it can remain forever. No, that is what we want to show. That is our idea of trying to open Lemminkainen temple, because because it brings us to the entrance of the corridor that goes 20 kilometers in the direction of Valhalla, from where there is the under Valhalla, this cone-formed open space where all the artifacts from before ice time created by the people in the lands around the world, where it's all stored. Under the ice time, they didn't do anything because they were cut off from the rest of the planet, so they didn't receive any of these gifts that were coming from all these ringlands around the planet. So the whole structure there is basically from before ice time. They didn't do anything during 50 million years with it under the ice time. And from the newly created ringlands after the ice time, when they went back from Gotland to Woedenma and again start to make Azer in Woedenma and Waner outside with all these ringlands going in the direction of Russia, Siberia up to Alaska. So in all these ringlands from the beginning, the ice time, people have been sending stuff up in appreciation for the system, just like before ice time. And they are probably, in my speculation, stored in the corridor that leads to the cone-formed structure there, which is created by nature in the creation of the earth. And the word corridor talks about one core, one gong or one alleyway with door on both sides. So core e door actually tells that there must be door on both sides, and that means that there they probably have been creating enough room for this period from, let's say, about 9,000 years ago up to the year 987 when they closed it. And the ringland system stopped to function in the time of all these happenings taking place in East Asia and Central Asia and West Asia in the end, where the Chinese is eating into these Lemminkainen people north from China and become Mongol, and then the Indians start to roam there in the central area of Siberia one point and collect lands from there. So we talk about the Tatar people, and then the Slav is this people who is this combination of Turkish people and Lemminkainen people living north from the Black Sea. Then it becomes always this eternal fight, and we are watching daily on the TV this fight today in Ukraine. It's total banana circus. So they don't want to be what they actually are. If they are Russia, you know, it's only because Turkey start to invade there and in the Middle Ages and afterwards, 1600, 1700, 1800, and we get the Crimean War and blah blah blah. And they want to be by themselves, but anyway, they have been part of Russia for thousands of years. But now again, officially since 1600 something. So anyway, this history department we have to clean up a little bit based on Bock Saga because we have quite good idea of how it went. But I run, or all of us run into much opposition because our story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And they want to magically let appear these blonde people in Central Asia and from there moving to Finland, after the ice time. And I am a little bit of different opinion based on the explanation what I get from Igor, and we have been talking for years about all these kind of things. So his story was so good, so I couldn't find one thing in between. Basically, that is the story of the painting. It is the Fugia, this lady representing the Fulvia. They could have used the dove maybe also, but Ekman he chose for this style because it relates a little bit more to this kind of aspect which we find from religion way of thinking also. It is made in 1856, 1857, when this guy who painted it was hanging out with Carl Gustav Bockström. So he gets good information from Eeyore's grandfather. Yeah, so he could explain for him these figures, and he made the painting accordingly. So it's quite fantastic to show.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Leo Nygren says that Väinämöinen modeled off of Carl Gustav.
Oh, one more time. Väinämöinen.
Carl Gustav modeled for Väinämöinen.
Yes.
It's his thing.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's correct. This is Carl Gustav Bockström. And it was just at the time when he was married with his third wife and is getting in 1857, he gets Christina Visturia Bockström. And according to another painting from this man, Ekman, is one painting of the family in Strömsö Gård on Wiener. And there is in the painting is Christina Visturia as 1 year old, or or it is from 1860, in which case there must be one small girl in that painting and one boy 1 year old who is Knut Wiesel. Yeah. And that's in another painting. I have only a photo of it, but I can't find it at the moment. But I think it's in Ananto's storehouse there in the computer. So
Trying to find it as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Leo, he knows this kind of thing because he has been also there in explanations, which were of course more interesting for these Oedenbach people. Yeah, so he has been telling many detail also to me, but not to that extent that he could converse in root with root-speaking people who are coming from older families that have been living forever in Oedenmark. So they have been usually, Leo in that way has been picking up on some detail, but there are also stories where Leo has been mixing his own story with the Bock Saga. And that is why it sometimes became a little bit tricky to take information from Leo Nygren one on one, because it gives the impression that he's telling Bock Saga. But actually, you have many story. He did very nice, and I don't want to criticize him. But I know that he has, especially when he starts to go in the Delos stories of Greece and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
He is a little bit mixing there his own story with Bock Saga to give more credits to that.
It's interesting, but it's not pure Bock Saga.
No, no, it's not. It's not.
The painting is Krita Harpsalo. Oh, Hapasalo.
Alpasalo, yeah, that's correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the Bock family.
Yeah, that's the Bock family. That's the Bock family. Yeah, correct.
Amazing.
In Strömsö around 1860, between 1857 and 1860. So he has been working, I think, about 6, 7 years on the painting in total.
So that's their cottage.
Yeah, It's a manor. You can call it. They call it Strumse Manor today.
Okay.
But it's basically it's a long house where is this different department of the masculine and the feminine, and the together space, a little bit the traditional style of countryside house, big house in Finland. Yeah.
Could you explain again to me the characters in that painting? Who they represent?
In that painting from Habasalo,
Yes.
now out of my head, the guy standing there with the pipe, I remember. This is Carl Gustav.
Okay.
There's one guy standing there smoking the pipe.
Yes.
And then there is Eva Josefa Sjölund, the mother, and she is holding the child.
Okay. And the child is.
And I think, I don't know if there is next to her standing one girl, maybe 4 years old, 3 years old.
Yes.
That is then Christina Visturia. And the little guy sitting on her lap is Knut Wiesel.
Ah. Eeyore's father.
I think,
Okay.
yes, Eeyore's father. Yeah.
There's a portrait of Tsar Alexander I on the wall as well.
Yeah, that was a good friend who has also been hanging out in Wiener Strumse. He was a little bit escaping from Russia. Sorry, which one was it? Alexander the First, eh?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Alexander the First, he disappeared from Russia, so they don't know. But he has been staying out in one monastery in Ladoga. On Valamo, yeah, Valamo Monastery. In Valamo Monastery, and there he was hiding out.
A hermit.
And but yeah, as a hermit, and he came. I think when was it? In the big happening of the Crimean War, 1853. He showed up in Finland. So he was on the Seven Island, and he was staying with Bock family. And after, I think he moved back again to Valamo. Yeah.
Where he died, yeah.
But yeah, and but he was there with his brothers, with with the son of, with his son Alexander II, and the brother of another son of him, or one of his brother. I'm not sure. I have to leave it open for the moment because I'm so full of title and name and things. So sometimes my small brain is cracking up in these bad. So I had to listen. I don't know how many hours, and in the end, you have it. You have it, but because you very seldom find people with whom you can talk about such a thing, so it's not anchored in my brain in the same way as the basic box saga. So basic box saga, it's for me a piece of cake. I mean, that is, I can go on for 3 months, no problem. But if you go into this kind of specific detail, I sometimes I'm a little bit lost also. But fortunately, I'm not the only one. We are a bunch of friends, or who have become kind of quite friendly towards each other in the time, who have been following also the stories. So I can always refer to all kind of other Finnish character, or Norwegian, or Swedish, or other people from other cultures. I mean, we are, yeah, anything.
The Kliphel, there are 3 stones. Do you know what the significance of the 3 stones?
No, I think this is a little bit. Artistic freedom. Let's say it like that. He wanted to make like a nice place, but this hell is actually the one where he has his feet on,
Okay.
and he could sit on that one and use the rest of the hell as like a back piece, to lean against. but it's basically a small version of the hell on which we call Lusnarberget or Kuntuluvori, on which one tower was built. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he had his tower on there. So that made him to be the highest character on the planet, because you can't go higher. It's the topmost place of the planet in paradise time. So he was basically from that spot, he was looking towards the south, the east, or the west, because the place itself, Valhalla, in front, is actually north. That is the north. So when you are in the north, you can only go in three directions. That is why you find that also in this kind of symbolic, like we have the Akaristi, the swastika, the Swarovstika, which has four arms. Yeah, but you have also a symbolic which have only three arms, which means that you are actually by yourself, the north, in Norra, and from there you can go south, east, and west. Because you always go south when you go from north, whether you go east or whether you go west.
Yes.
Yeah. So there they have also some kind of symbolic for that, which you find all over the planet. Some mark.
Could you tell me a little bit about who commissioned the painting from Ekman? Is it Menshikov? Vladimir Menshikov?
That I don't know.
Okay.
There is Menshikov, of course. There is all these Menshikov stories. Oh, Jesus Christ. He was the Grand Duchy. He was the, how you call that title? He was placed there by the Tsar, who made in 1809 Finland become Grand Duchy under the Tsar of Russia.
Was it
So that must have been Paul.
under Nicholas the First?
Nicholas the First, Alexander. And there is three brothers, Nicholas, Alexander, and Constantine. So they are the sons of Paul Gottorp. Paul Gottorp was the son of Katarina Anhalt Zerbst, so Katarina the Great. She had one husband called Paul II, and when she became pregnant from Paul, she straight away killed her husband, so she became empress in Russia. But now she had her little boy, which made her to be like the regent in the family, in order for him to grow up and to continue the line of these Gottorp people who was sitting now on the throne in Russia. So they call them Romanov, but they are Gottorp. Yeah.
Really?
There. Yeah.
Why
So
did they change the name?
it's a long story, but I can tell you. I make a short version for you. It's the situation when Peter the Great, Peter the Great, he is emperor in Russia. He's from about 1775, and no, sorry, 1675, and he's living until 1825. No, my God, no. He's living about till 1725. I get confused now because I suddenly moved back 200 years. So 16, around the turn of the century, in 1700, he is starting one war with Sweden in order to get one harbor on the Baltic Sea. So he is starting one war, which is in Finnish language called the Iso Viha, Stora Ofreden, which is running for 21 years. So it goes from 1700 to 1721, and there he is in fight with Karl the 12th or Karl the 10th. Leave that out. Anyway, he is in. They are these two young guys who are king in their respective country, and Karl the 10th or Karl the 12th, he was still a minor, but he had to become king because his father died. So in that situation, Peter he start one full blast attack on that area which belonged before to Ingermanland, Estonia, yeah, on the east side of Finland. So where the Neva is,
Yes.
the entrance.
St. Petersburg, yeah.
Correct. So in the middle of the war in 1703, he started to build his capital there, Petersburg. Yeah, 1703. And now he has his son because the seat of the Tsar was Moscow. But in Moscow, there is his son who become educated because Papa is all the time blasting around Europe. He's going to France, to his colleague there, Louis XIV, Louis the Sun King, and he is going to Amsterdam because he wants to know about shipbuilding, and he is learning about medicine and surgery and clocks, and he do everything. This guy was a genius, Peter the Great. He was really great, and he was more than 2 meters tall, so he was literally very great. And he had one good young friend called Menshikov, who was, I think it was from the bakery department of the Tsar house. But that guy he became a good friend with, and so that guy he,
Alexander
no,
Menshikov. Alexander.
it must be the great grandfather or something. It can be Alexander Menshikov. And anyway, when he was young, he was always warming up the bed for Peter the Great. So they sleep together in the bed there, and they have their story, and it was all, like it was. So everything okay. And now when he was building his capital there, in the same time, his son became educated by these Greek Orthodox church people. So completely brainwashed, full brainwashed in church tradition. And Peter knew that he has no chance to get his son to do as according to how he wanted the things to be, because he is completely brainwashed, this son, by Greek Orthodox tradition.
Huh.
So the end of the story was that when he was on his way to Spa in Belgium, where you have these hot springs, where the elite of Europe was meeting in the summertime to take baths there.
Yeah.
And they hang out there for 3 months every year, and then they speak with each other, all the state affairs. And after the king from England go to England, and from Denmark to Denmark, and from Spain to Spain, and from Austria to Austria. But anyway, they are all related, kind of, all these families. Yeah, and then they communicate in French with each other. Now there he is sitting in the sauna there, or in Spa, in the bathhouse, and there he is meeting um, the Emperor of Germany. No, not the sorry, no. He is meeting. I have to think now. He is meeting Frederick Gottorp,
Okay.
and Frederick Gottorp from Lübeck, or the area of Lübeck, from that area, he is in title, he is king, but he, like the Brandenburg and the Oldenburg in Copenhagen, the Brandenburg in Potsdam, in Berlin, and now this third king is this from this Gottorp family, but this Gottorp become without land because the Pope after 1050 is taking, after 1067, is taking in one war kind of situation the insignia of the Gottorp family as a sign that he is king, like the Brandenburg and the Gottorp. But in that way, he became king without a country, without land.
Huh.
But he has this position. So now this Pope today is still running with this funny top hat that he has with inside the insignia of the Gottorp family. And he's parading with that on the balcony in Easter
On the Pope?
time.
Did you say the Pope?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yes,
fascinating.
my good friend. Anyway, this Frederick Gottorp, he has one son called Carl Frederick Gottorp. And now Peter the Great is asking to this Frederick Gottorp if he wants to become king in Russia or Tsar in Russia, because then he has a land and he has a king title. Now, because these Romanov people were not part of these royal houses within Europe who communicate with each other in French or in whatever language they could speak. So they had like regular letter exchange and talk exchange, meeting exchange. So they was always in some kind of communication thing from which Peter the Great, as the Tsar of the biggest country on the planet, was excluded. Now he wanted to have also a harbor which all the year around is ice free, because the only harbors he has are in Murmansk in the north, and at that time it's in Kola, there it's still frozen, and the other one is in Vladivostok in East Siberia. So for him it is very difficult to bring in orange and banana to Russia for Russian people, because you always have to deal with this fucking English and French and Dutch and Swedish, and, because they are blocking the entrance to the Baltic Sea. You know, so he was of course very interested to start war with Turkey in order to get harbor on the Black Sea, and he was interested to get harbor on the Baltic Sea in order to be able to go out and bring orange and banana for the people in Russia, but the Western powers excluded that from him. Now he found a way to solve the problem, that he had his son Alexis. Peter the Great's crown prince was called Alexis, and he has two daughters, one called Anna, and the oldest one is Elizabeth. And Elizabeth was supposed, and has also become the Tsaretsa after Peter died. So when Peter died, 1725, I think, 1725, after up to 1761, 62, she is Tsaretsa. And her younger sister, Anna, was asked by Peter the Great if his son, Carl Frederick Gottorp, marries with Anna, then their son could become emperor in Russia. So by killing his own son, Alexis, he finished the sperm line of the Romanov, because now there was only the two girls left, who the oldest one he became the Tsaretsa, and the younger one married with Carl Frederick Gottorp, and in that way their son became become Peter II, who 1760, after Elizabeth died, or 1761, 62, I want to leave it a little bit open because I think it was 1760, 1760. Anyway, Peter the Great, or Peter the Second, become emperor. And he married, before already, he married with this Katharina Anhalt-Zerbst, which after she became pregnant from Peter the Second, straight away killed him and grow up with her son, and she is the regent of this boy in order to be Tsaretsa in Russia.
Okay. And
Then,
she is
then
also. Oh, go ahead.
yeah,
She is Alexander the First's grandmother, correct?
correct. Yeah, she is the grandmother of Alexander the First.
So she's a she married the Gottorp. Gottorp.
Yeah, she married with Karl Friedrich Gottorp,
Okay.
who was the son of this Adolf Friedrich Gottorp, who was the official inheritor that he met in 1717. I think it was 1717 or 1718 that he met in Spa, and they made this arrangement so that he would become the future king. Because when he have king title, he would automatically be in this European king system, Russia also. And all power tried always to prevent that, to keep the Russian out, because they was the biggest country on the planet. And this drama is going on up till today. You can't believe it. And these fucking people of today, except Putin, have no idea of history. They learn from the Western history book from the school, since we all went to school 1890, 1880, the normal people. It was before only the elite who go to study in the school. But up to 1870, 1890, depending on where you live in Europe, 90% of the people couldn't read and write. This is only since 130 years that we all learn to read and write. You know, it's totally ridiculous. So of course it was very easy that you make the same history book for everybody on the planet. So we lost our whole history. Because it was all written by these Pope people in Rome, kind of. Yeah. And where the world starts 6,000 years ago, according to their calendar. Uh, the earth was created 6,000 years ago, that you can find from all these Middle East historical religious people.
May I ask you a question?
Bullshit. Yeah, sure.
Can you tell me the significance of the Suomenlinna church?
That is the place where they met, 1850, 1850, before the bombardment
Yeah.
of this place, before the bombardment of the castle or in front of Lusnarberget or on Valhalla. He built this church. Um, let me see, which one is it now? Alexander II, I think.
I think it was Nicholas the First. Did he build it?
Was it already Nicholas the First? Okay, so it is. Yes, it is a sign when they, after 1809, have been taking over Finland. So also the whole Finland become under Russia as as in the form of a grand duchy, and so a little bit like Luxembourg is still today.
Yeah.
And he built that tower, and now his idea was to get one key from Jerusalem.
Yes, please.
Yes, he wanted to get a symbolic key from Russia, and um, he did not succeed with that in some form. But that he tried to do this kind of thing could place Valhalla again as the original or these islands as the original center of heathendom on the planet. Now, from that, all church people around the planet flipped out. So the French and the English, 1853, they sent one big army up in the Baltic, and they throw more than 1 million kilo of bomb on the castle on Viapuri,
Yes.
on Valhalla, But
Battle
Valhalla
of
was not.
Stamp.
Yeah, correct. So they didn't manage to destroy. They destroy one part of it, half of it, but the other half, under which is Valhalla, also in the basement, the castle is actually built over Valhalla. So in the basement there is the original Valhalla, and it's still left. So by some magic, they were not able to destroy this focal center point, holiest of the planet. Yeah, but they tried.
What is this Jerusalem key?
Because Jerusalem is not in the Middle East, Jerusalem is in Finland. Yeah, Jerusalem is actually the name of the place of the Lemminkainen temple. That is Jerusalem.
Yeah.
It is part of this thing where when these girls in Troyabori, in Borgo, have been chosen to become mother or to become the Disa, they were brought on the way from Troyabori. They had to walk down to the beach in Borgo, where they take the boat, and with the boat they make one small trip and to end up in Akampesa, in Gumbustrand. And this way there is called Jerusalem Gata, the road to Jerusalem.
Okay.
The road to Jerusalem. Yeah. So that's the symbolic name for them being transported after they have been chosen or elected in this Trojaborio, in Borgo, on the way to Akampesa, Gumbustrand, where they get 30 days to drink from this rabbi, because Lemminkainen could not give all of these girls to drink. He had only to make them pregnant. But in order to do that, in the temple, they make what you can call the Lemminkainen temple one sperm exchange temple. So this rabbi, they drink from Lemminkainen, and Lemminkainen in the same time from this rabbi.
69.
So it's some kind of 69 story they have there. And that make that these girls know that inside of these rabbis from whom they are drinking 30 days to make honeymoon, they know that the Lemminkainen is inside. Yeah.
That's the Jerusalem key.
That is the Jerusalem key.
But what has it to do with Suomenlinna Church?
No, it is on the King's Island. It's on Kumsö. They built this church.
Yeah.
So there was already existing the castle on Viapuri, on Udensö was already existing the castle that Augustinaires were built. But now on the same meridian, going north, on the zero meridian, on the next island, on Kumsö, he built this tower, what become the, how do you call it, what is the name of this place now, this tower, what is there, what Nikolai built. You just said it to me. I tried to get the name. This kind of church, what is built?
Oh, the Suomenlinna Church?
Yeah, it must be today it's Suomenlinna. It's again Finnish castle instead of Sveapori, which was the Swedish castle. It's a confusion with the name.
But it was originally Russian.
It was built. That was built in the Russian time, but before that, already in the 18th century, it was Swedish. From 1050 up to 1809, Finland is part of Sweden. But
Right.
from 1809 to 1917, Finland is part of Russia as a Grand Duchy. So it fall under Russia, Finland, but because people had been living there 700 years with Swedish law, they could hold on to their Swedish law because they could never understand the Russian law of the Tsar people in Russia who had like, let's say, little bit. I mean, all under the king system was also authoritarian system in one way, and in Russia they had also one authoritarian system under the Tsar. But the Western was, let's say, a little bit more modernized structure of law system and organization of country system was more Western European than Eastern European. Yeah. And that is why Finland became a neutral after 1970 when the Russians go out. They make Finland to be an own state. And now they didn't want to be by the east and they didn't want to be by the west in order to keep the neutrality position. So this tower there is on Kungsö on the King's Island, which was before the place of Seppo, when there was other buildings there, not this tower what is built first in the 19th century when it became Russian. Yeah. So basically, if you look Helsinki before the Russian time was a relatively small town where Turku was the capital of Finland. In 1812, they made Helsinki to be the capital.
Okay.
Yeah. So Helsinki became capital 1812, and let me see, Petersburg became. It was built 1703, but it became also capital officially 1712. Yeah. So then for one period was Petersburg the capital before it went back again to Moscow later on. Yeah. But this is all this confusion which is in the 18th century and the end of the 17th, or actually the end of the Romanov family that become the Greek Orthodox who take over in Russia already 987. But now in that period, it was one sideline from the Swedish Linga head that became ruler in Russia. So that is why the Ukraine, what was in that time the capital, Kiev was the capital of Russia in the 10th century.
Rurik, right?
Yeah, Rurik. Okay. Yeah, the Ruriks the head of Rurik. So they are Swedish. That is why Ukraine is blue and yellow, like the Swedish.
And the Trisul.
Yeah, yeah. And they all steal from each other. They all steal all the symbolism for themselves. They do it everywhere. where it's logical if you look in the mythological societies, but in this, let's say, more modern of the last 1,000 years, no, yeah, they all steal everything left, right, and center in order to be superior to the other one. And this superior kind of trip is coming just out of these lines of Dan and Sven. That one from 1,000 years after, these are the ones who have been making, in the end, in our time, they make the machine. It's the Swedish and the Danish and the English. They make the machine and they make the capitalism and they make that we are superior since 500 years during the colonial time all over the planet. I mean, we went shopping for free in India, Indonesia, South America, Africa, Australia, everywhere. We went shopping for free and we sold our product very expensive in Lisbon, London, Amsterdam, Amsterdam, Copenhagen. It's like, if you look back, it's to crack up because you can understand why we are as we are. why we are saying already since 3 years that Putin is losing the war. You know, they get kicked in the ass like never before. But every day I have to listen to propaganda here in this fantastic liberal democratic kingdom of Holland. You know, it's like, you know, they are so fucked up in their head, you know, because they want to be superior. And it's just like now what happened in the States, you know, also Trump. Oh yeah, we have to see if we come to an arrangement with Putin. You know, that are we forever going on with war, or are we finishing the war now? And I think to finish the war now, it should be very good because it would open the possibility to open Lemminkainen Temple.
Oh, you think that will help?
Yeah, of course, of course. When they get down from their high horse to be superior and to kind of force everybody to use the dollar for every uh, earth earth material that is put on the free market. Yeah, we all have to pay in dollar. We have to pay in oil in dollar and gas in dollar and metal in dollar and coal in dollar. Everything has to be paid in dollar if you don't have it by yourself. So also this Russian to do business, you have to be part of the dollar system. No, now they become boycotted and they and the Chinese and the Indian and the Brazilian and everybody's starting to be slowly fed up of this dollar regulated world scene. So they want to make a multipolar world, you know. So I mean, nobody minds to use dollar. It's really okay. It's the only currency that keeps its value, in a way, you know. Also, when you are hit by inflation, like terrible, yeah, like all of us are. You know, we are all screwed with our money wheel system. So it's time to get back to the life wheel and leave the money wheel. But this is a process. This is going to take time. They need the realization of the fact that the world has a history much larger than the last 6,000 years. And we can prove it. You know, we only need a little help. Only a little. Most of the job we did already. You know, but they just had to let us, you know, but then we create an enormous problem for these Finnish people. And now even more problem because they by themselves, with in their stupidity, they decide to become part of NATO also, you know, like the Swedes. So you can see that we have this Western camp, and this Western camp needs one border, but it tries to encroach on the Russian land. So as long as the Russian was leaving after Gorbachev and Reagan made the deal that hey, we finish this bullshit, you know. So the Russians, they went away from Poland and Bulgaria and Romania and Czechia and you know they went away with all their army back to Russia. But and the deal was that only East Germany could become part of NATO, but not Poland and the Baltic states and Romania and Czechia and Slovakia and Hungary and Bulgaria. You know this is crazy. So we have been fooling the Russians by encroaching with NATO on the territory of East European countries who are totally paranoia for Russia, according to the newspaper, according to the MSN. Yeah, everybody there is paranoia because the Russians is coming. No, it was okay for Putin. In the end, you know, he didn't give a shit either. But he said that if you go, if you go in Ukraine, then that's my red line. Then I say stop. And if you don't go, then we have a problem. And this is the problem what is now going on. So it's the end game. Either we retreat, you know, and stop our NATO there where it is, but not in Ukraine, yeah. And you know, then we can't make Poland to be neutral anymore. We can't make Baltic states to be neutral anymore. We can't make Romania neutral anymore. The best would be if these countries would be neutral, like Switzerland. Yeah, but Switzerland is also not anymore neutral. Yeah, they also have been sending weapons to Ukraine because they were all dreaming, these money will people from the West, that they could cut up Russia in small pieces so they can manipulate them and have future regime change like they do in South America and Africa and everywhere on the planet. Yeah, so I mean they are so full of shit. And it's this superiority complex that we people in the West hold, and most of that complex is coming out of this children making system after Einstein by Dunn and Sven. So of course we had many thousand years of relatively easy going because we were not a money wheel oriented society. We were just living, yeah, as Gothic people, as Danish people, as Swedish people, as English people, Irish. You know, we were not, we were quite okay. We all knew where we came from in that time, if you go back a couple of thousand years. So they knew that, you know, but we are definitely different from these Finnish Russian people. Only these Finnish people don't realize it at the moment by themselves that they are exactly the same people as the Russian people. The Finnish and the Russian people are the same people. Of course, when you go east, they start to look a little bit more North Korean in Russia. But that's also because the history has been making that. You know, so now there's some paranoia of all this North Korean there, you know, like, you know. But I mean, I have been traveling all over Russia in the Soviet Union time. It was very obvious for me that people in the east of Russia look different than the people in the west of Russia. But that's only historically grown. But they feel Russian. They
Right.
feel Russian. You know, that is
But
the
what
whole
about
trick.
the Slav? I mean, are the Slavs are not the Finnish people, right?
No, they are a combination of Finnish and Turkish.
Okay.
So it's the Turkish who has been encroaching from the south into Russia. What made there to be like in the southern regions a more mixed population that in the Mohammed time or after the Mohammed time, slowly, when Greek Orthodoxism in the Middle East lost out to the Muslim, so this Greek Orthodox has been infiltrated by Muslim, yeah, in Syria, in Iraq, in Georgia, Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, all these places. You know, it was before populated by Lemminkainen people, but in the historical times, already become mixed with Persian and with Turkish and with, you know, all kinds of people. So there is an enormous amount of ethnic differences in the many regions of Russia. It's just like America in one way. Well, it's just with Asian people instead of European people.
Mhm.
You can see it like that. No. Anyway, you know, by us, yeah, the Russian is always portrayed as the angry wolf, as the we are Little Red Riding Hood, and he is the grandmother, you know, who's been eating, who's eating Little Red Riding Hood, you know, he's hanging out Big Bear, the wolf, and this is all propaganda. Because these are the nicest people that walk on the planet happen to live in Russia and in Afghanistan. Yeah, these are really nice people. I've been spending many years, and you can, and you, they are so nice people and so honest. And it's something they are so honest, so we don't understand. You know, they don't put signature on the paper. They give handshake. And by us, no contract is valid if there is no signature. But also, if you put signature that there is no East expansion of NATO in Eastern Europe. And they signed for that. But Clinton gives shit for it. So you can't trust Western politicians. You can't trust them. And the Russians have very good experience already from 18th century with that problem. And they get fooled by the Western people because we are expansionists and we are money wheel people, no? And we are superior to everybody on the planet. And we are now in the end of that period because slowly, India is not India anymore like I got to know it. And it's the same in Iran, and it's the same in Southeast Asia, and it's the same in South America, and it's the same in Africa. They are kicking us out everywhere because they are fed up of us. And I knew that already in the 90s. I find out that it's slowly time to get out of Asia and make my base in Europe because that's anyway where I come from. And this idealistic idea of me sitting on an island in the Pacific in my hammock between two palm trees became quite impossible when you had to start to pay also $800 or euro for to rent one house for it's like total fucking madness by us.
Did you live in Hawaii?
Yeah, I spent time with Stuart and Jim in Hawaii. Yeah, also the Big Island.
Oh, okay. On Maui, yes?
Yeah, also in Maui, also on the Big Island, also on Molokai.
I was on Molokai.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, my lady also, the one I'm living with, she spent time also there with Stuart when he was still around. She was sick for one period. I know that it's a good place to hang out with Mama.
Were you on the east end of Molokai? Did you know Fuji?
Yeah. Yeah, I was very lucky. I was there already first time in the 1980. I was in 1981. I met some friend in the harbor in Honolulu with one sailing boat, and I wanted to see different islands, but there were no ferries between the Hawaiian islands.
Yeah.
So, you could only go by aeroplane, and I didn't have that kind of money. So I went hitchhiking in the port of Honolulu, and after 2 days, I got a message from two guys from San Francisco who were there with one sailing boat cruising around, and if we wanted to help them and join them, and they asked me if I could sail, and I said yes. And so they let me sail the boat there between Honolulu and Molokai and Maui and all these places, and, going around and beaching there. And I had a great time. And later I met Jim, so he bring me to Big Island, and we go up on the mountain and into the jungle.
Where on the Big Island? Where on the Big Island?
Oh, in the south, in the
Captain Cook.
in the shrub part, in the most horrible place part of the Big Island, where you run in the thorn bush to go from the road 3-4 kilometers before you reach the beach. You get.
Was he growing there?
Yeah, he grew there between the shrub, between the thorn bushes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So sometimes they came falling out of the sky there, And, we had all kinds of adventures when the when the DEA was landing from their helicopters. Oh wow.
That was in the 80s? That was in the 80s?
Yeah, in the 80s, in the 86, 87, 88. Yeah,
You must know some of my friends there.
Yeah. He was in the south, in the dry part. His mother was living a bit more up the mountain. She was staying in a nicer place. But Jim, he always wanted to have the place that is as far away from Washington as you could be and still be in the United States.
You found it.
Yeah. These goddamn Yankees, they're all fucked up, man. Have to get away from these idiots. They're all mongoloid. Yeah, well, what to do, Say, Jim, the whole world is like that. What can we do for the fact that they don't want to let us smoke our small spliff and, fuck off. It's like the story of my life. I'm one victim from all madness since 1960s. So, so you know all of it because it happened to you by yourself. So you can just talk from your brain. I don't have to make up any story. I just tell what has been happening. The amount of times that you get picked up by the side of the road for some reason, One day you are a fucked up hippie smoking dope, The next day you are a terrorist and member of the RAF in Germany and of the Brigata Rosso in Italy. And in Tokyo, I was part of the Red Army there. It's like wherever you go, they always like to put some stamp on you, and you are only this peaceful hippie who like to sit and talk history and mythology and funny stories and have nice friends and hang out in Goa and dance in the full moon under the palm tree. And you are not interested in all this shit where they are all interested in. Yeah, not at all. So I could always identify very well with Red Indian smoking peace pipe, and I've been doing that all over the planet from when I was 13 years old, 14 years old, and I have had my small break. Yeah.
Hey, what was your life like before you met Eeyore?
Before I had no life. I was studying to become primary school teacher.
Okay.
I had no life. I had a little life. I had been finding out. Look, I get to know Eeyore when I was 19. So I have been knowing him. I have been knowing him from 1974.
Where did you meet him?
In Quetta, Pakistan, in the middle of the desert, south from Kandahar in Afghanistan. We met at the crossroads, and we were both broke. I had come from Benares, from Varanasi, and he came direct from Goa, and they had been ripping off his wallet, and my wallet was gone in Benares, and we had 10 rupee between the two of us when we met. And we had to hitchhike from Quetta, Pakistan to go, I had to go to London and he had to go to Helsinki. So we had very nice adventures during 1 month and a half when we met there in the desert. And of course, a lot to talk about. It was my first trip to the east and for him also. But he was a bit older than I was. So, but anyway, I had straight away some kind of feeling attraction with this guy because he could tell story after story after story, much more than me, of course. And I was a good listener. And up to that time, I had, yeah, when I was 9 years old, I wanted to have an atlas for my birthday. So I studied the atlas and I find out when I was 9 years old, I want to go there and there and there and there and there. I want to go everywhere. So then, of course, you have to go to school and become an ordinary, good tax-paying citizen, and for that you have to get a reasonable job. So I never knew what the fuck I wanted to do. No idea, so all kinds of suggestion came from people. And then when I was 15 years old, I find out that I'm in the middle school and I failed for the first time. I had to do 1 year extra again. And they said to me that maybe it's best if you try to become teacher, school teacher, because then you become free from the army, because I was blasting around everywhere that I have no interest to learn how to shoot people. So
everybody had to join the army?
Yeah, in that time, in the beginning of 70s, you still had to be in the army. So when I stopped to study, they straight away want to have me for the army. So I told them to fuck off. And they said they will put me 2 years in the prison. So I say thank you very much. And I packed my suitcase and moved to Afghanistan. And I never came back until I was 35. So because if I would stay outside of Holland until I was 35, then I was supposed to become free from the army. So basically, I got 16, 17 years free ticket for to go and look the whole planet. I become free from Holland. I become free from the tax office. I become free from the army. I become free from my family,
How did you
everybody, because
support yourself?
I did job in Switzerland and in France and in Japan and in Australia and in Canada and all over the globe, where it made sense to work in that time were usually Western countries with a good economy. So there you work in 2, 3 months and you collect your 500 or $1,000, and with that you could stay again 1 year in India or whatever. And in Finland, because Ior's mother, she was very interested in the fact that I didn't want to join the army. So I get kind of permission to hang out by Bock family in Helsinki in the first 9 years that I know Ior. I could always, if I ended up broke somewhere on the road, I could always come there to get bread and cheese and hang out and listen to 18th century stories.
So you knew
So that
Eeyore's
was,
mother.
sorry?
You knew Eeyore's mother.
No, only by telephone. I never met her. Only by telephone. Yeah. She phoned me when he was working. Sometimes she phoned me to have a little conversation with me, because with me she could practice languages. Because she spoke 7 languages and I spoke 4 or 5 in that time. So she could speak German and Dutch and English and French. And she speak Root, of course, and Swedish and Finnish and Russian. Yeah, she was really brilliant. Yeah, she was good. So, we talking a little bit languages. And in the
You,
time that I spent there with Eeyore in the 70s and the 80s, I learned a little bit of this root, and I can understand quite well, and Finnish. But Eeyore forbid me to go to learn Finnish. He said, you just have to listen. So I learned only Finnish by listening. So I learned from the Eeyore's friends, Eeyore's Finnish friends. So I speak only Helsinki slang.
spoke in Finnish.
Yeah. I don't speak Finnish. I speak Helsinki slang. Yeah.
Right.
That's.
But you understand quite a bit of Finnish, yeah.
I understand quite well, but if they start to speak like a newspaper, I understand fuck all.
Can you read it?
Yeah, but also if it looks like a newspaper, difficult newspaper language, but no, I'm quite lost. My
What
Finnish
about
is
root?
not good for that.
Are you fluent in
Huh?
root? Are you fluent in root?
I understand 95, 98% I understand. Yeah,
Okay.
there is 2% where I have a hole, but this is more easy because it's very similar to Dutch, the Dutch accent or the Dutch spoken here in Holland. Many words are exactly the same, like in root,
Right.
and we have many of the old words we still have in our own language. So for me to listen to your story when he tells them in root, it was very easy. But also when we speak always English, but he could use with me root words without problem because he know I understand. Yeah, when he talk about yes, very, I don't need the translation because it's in the simple translation gastgeverij in Dutch. So gastgeverij and yes, very. It's just because we pronounce the gay different than they do in the root. We have the we have this Arabic style and this Swiss German style, but yeah, they have the more soft sound.
So that's where we get hostel in English.
Where we get
Hostel.
what?
Hostel in English.
Yeah, hostel also for this. Yeah, from hotel. Yeah, before it was a place to eat. Hotel. Today it's a place to sleep. Kind of. You can eat also. Before it was for eating only. Hmm. Now, so there is some because telling hotel. Yeah, you tell about hotel, and it become it become hotel. But of course, when you go in hotel, you tell it's like Ukko sitting there on the Paasikivi, there on the Lysnaberg. He can't tell, hey, yeah, hotel. You can go on and on and on with the sound system, and it is for me so incredible. It opened my eyes in the time, the more I started to understand. So there is nobody who can come with their expert, specialist, bullshit, etymology, language explanation of the professor. I mean, it's all bullshit. So, and it's so easy when you get it. When you get it, it's so easy, and you can destroy all these etymologies. But they are the expert and the specialist, and I'm just a bumfuck hippie from Holland, you have no chance. You have no degree. You are nothing when you have no degree by us. Same like in the States. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
everywhere the
changing.
same.
Yeah.
And that is how they can be superior. It's just the whole schooling system is already. First of all, they make the book where they tell us what they tell us. Now everybody today around the planet can read that book, so everybody knows the same thing. Yeah, and then of course, if you are interested in computer and all this other crap, you can of course develop into some kind of mathematic genius or algorithm genius or scientific genius or I was not interested. I find out in the end that it creates distance between people. It doesn't bring them together. And today, the difference between the highly educated caste and the normal people is already enormous. Because for them, it's all the same how much one pot of peanut butter is costing. Doesn't matter if it is €1 or €10 or €15. But for the, let's say, now today by us they don't talk anymore about high educated and low educated. They are having to talk about um, theoretical and practical. And the practical people are much more nice to hang out with than the theoretical people because they are so full of shit so you can't believe it. Because they all read the same book and they all believe the same thing. And they formed a big, large group in Europe and in the States and in Australia, New Zealand, and we all run after the fat. And the problem is that by educating all rest of the planet, the people of South America, Africa, and Asia, they are not stupid people. They are coming from practice. So very quickly they do those things better than we ever did it. So they still think that Russia is living like 1950, 1960, 1970 Russia as they learned in the school. They still think it's like that. But today, if you are in Russia, in the big towns, not in the countryside, because it's difficult if you have such a big countryside to develop all that in no time, in 30 years, is not possible. But the bigger towns, I tell you, you don't believe it when you go around there. If you see then our Los Angeles and Chicago's and New York, and you think they are all shitholes compared to Petersburg and Moscow and Kiev. Oh my God, can't believe it. So it's really beautiful. There's no graffiti every 2 meters and rubbish, all this shit what you have by us, people sleeping on the street, 50, 11 million of them with their Walmart cards, with their belongings inside. I mean, and in the meantime they spend 1 trillion every year on the fucking army. So as long as people are that stupid, that's the educated ones. They know, and they arrange it for us because it's for our security. And there's no Russian who want to come here to clean up that shit what we have made out of Europe. of course, we might be living in general on a higher standard, all people. But the last 10 years, this is changing with such a dramatic speed. So half of our population is thinking maybe it's better we go to milk our cow in Russia. Move there. I know already so many people who move there because they like to have people. They need people. Yeah, by us we are all a product in a short time under AI, and so they don't need us at all anymore, so they can give shit for us. Yeah, it's the stupid people. We are living with really stupid, most stupid people you can think are living in the Western countries. They are all brainwashed by their own propaganda, and they believe in it, and that makes them to be believer. And to make a believer to understand something is very difficult. We already tried to get Christianity out of their brain. Was programmed from the last 1600 years. It's very difficult. But it's more difficult to talk about realistic things that have been happening in the history, which you can bring across. But there is no professor here who will agree with you, with small exceptions. But it's like swimming against the current. And we learned that already at young age, even before Bock Saga. But Bock Saga only make that you become more strong in your basic outlook on this stupid system that is educating 18 years old to go in the army and to be cannon fodder for the elite who is hiding in their atomic bunker and they send you on the battlefield. I mean, you must be stupid, if you join that circus. The problem is, you are a traitor and you are a long-haired, fucked up hippie, you have been smoking too much dope, and they don't understand that magma is good for the brain. And when you inform them, because they have made so much propaganda, that everything is negative in their propaganda movie, and we have to be afraid for everybody. You can't trust nobody. You must be insured. Yeah, I never have insurance. I hear I have to because otherwise I can't do my job. But for what you have to be insured? It's one thing that is sure: when you are born, you're gonna die. So why do you have to be insured for that? Yeah, it can happen something. And I always said, oh, nice, finally something is happening, you know? And they are all saying, oh, it can happen something. I say, yeah, hey, enjoy it happening. So I could go on like this for hours, but maybe sometime when we have something to back us up.
Maybe we'll try and do this again sometime.
Hey, we can always do this. I can do it 24 hours a day. The only problem is that I have to go to work also, because you don't you don't get you don't get you get little support from the people who like you and your stories. But in general, to pay my bill, I have also to go out and stand on the scaffolding and paint the houses on
Oh, you paint houses.
inside, outside.
Okay. Hello?
What? Yeah?
Oh, I think
Hello?
we're cutting out.
Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, wait, maybe we fade out now,
It's
slowly,
time.
slowly.
It's time to say
Yeah,
goodbye. Thank you so much
it's
for your
time.
time.
Oh, no problem. I will do
Really.
it again, Vicky. Sometime. Yeah,
Aloha.
we have a plan. If you have question, you can always drop a note by me, and if I have time, we can make the connection and have a little blah blah.
Okay. Thank you so much,
Right?
Michel. All right.
Hey, aloha,
Aloha.
greetings, aloha, boom boom.
Boom boom.
Very good.